Hi all. How are you all doing? Okay, we're just getting going on this side. Okie dokes. Okie dokes, we're going. Welcome all. Welcome to today's info session at Milpark Education School of Financial Services. Thank you for joining our info session today. Today we're going to be discussing with you all the PGD in investment management as well as our PGD in banking, which are offered through our school. Now, before we get going, I would like to just outline some of the ground rules. What we're going to do is, on the right-hand side, you've got a chat box where you can go and, as we're going through the presentation today, you can type in any questions you have for the various presenters as they go along. And if you have any questions as we go along, we'll answer them either during the session, but if we gloss over something to the end, we can always pick up any questions in the Q&A at the end of the session. So to begin with, let me introduce myself. My name is David Fenter, and I am the head of school. I have been at Milpark Education for a number of years now, and I'm joined by a number of colleagues of mine in our school. I'm going to let my colleagues introduce themselves, and then we'll get going for the day. But I thought it's a good idea just to kind of get to know everyone who's on the screen. So I think let's go from what I'll do is I can nominate someone, they can introduce themselves, and then they can nominate the next person. I think we'll do it that way around. So Elmarie, if you want to introduce yourself first.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the session. My name is Elmarie van der Westhuizen. I'm the head of department for the banking department. And I also have been with Milpark for a number of years, like David. And prior to that, I also worked in the financial services industry. I nominate the media.
Hi, and you even excuse me. Hey, everyone. I'm Amelia Johnson. I'm the program manager for the postgraduate diplomas qualification. I've also been with Milpark for many, many years, and yeah, looking forward to supporting you on this journey. Over to Stanton.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the session this evening. My name is Stanton Lesh. I'm a senior lecturer at the School of Financial Services, specifically responsible for the postgraduate diploma in banking, and I'm looking forward to my presentation to you a little bit later. Over to Corbin.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Corbin Niemann. I'm a lecturer in the School of Investment. I'm a recent addition to Milpark. However, I have spent a number of years in the industry, as well as at other academic institutions. Looking forward to work with you next year. I nominate Jurgen, the last one left.
Okay, last but not the least, I'm Jürgen Moller. I'm the head of department for investments. I've been with Milpark now for 5 years. Prior to joining Milpark, I've worked in industry and asset management and wealth management. So I've been around financial services quite a bit. And I do look forward to sharing my thoughts with you a bit later this evening and also working with you next year.
Perfect, thanks. Thanks all. Okay, so I think beforehand, so today's session, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be handing over to Jürgen and to Stanton. Jürgen is very involved in the PGD in investment management, so he's going to kind of go through some of the highlights there, and Stanton's going to do the same for the PGD in banking. So we'll go in that order. But before we get going, what I thought would be something useful to kind of touch on, which just came into my mind as everyone was introducing themselves, was what is the distinctive factor of Milpark Education versus other higher education institutions? And I think specifically in the School of Financial Services, something which is which is great, is that we always talk about ourselves as being a school for financial professionals, run by financial professionals, financial services professionals. And it's very much if I look, for instance, at everyone on our panel today, everyone here has had a number of years of experience within the financial services sector, as well as in academia, and bringing that across into both the content, which we teach on, and the content creation, as well as the teaching of the content. That is a distinctive factor for our school, and something we're very proud of. I think if we look at on average across the school, we're probably looking at, on average for the academics, at 10 plus years of industry related experience, on average. And I think that is it is a huge advantage for our school, and it's a way where we know that everything is being incorporated within either the banking or investment related qualifications is industry specific from those who've worked in those areas within industry. So I think that is a great defining factor. I think something else which is also good to mention now at the beginning of the session is that, again, I think if I'm correct, it's around 80% of academics within the school have been working students at some point or the other throughout their working life. And so as a faculty, we understand what it is to be a working, studying adult, and all the things that have to be juggled, whether it be kids, family, friends, life in general, and work, and having to kind of how one goes about managing that whole the whole process of studying while working. And so I think that is something which we have top of mind when it comes to developing and delivering our curriculum and qualifications. And how that is done is through a lot of what we do is built in such a way that asynchronous learning, a fancy word we use, which basically means you can learn at any time and any place, is done. So by asynchronous, I mean, for instance, if we have a lecture, that lecture will be recorded, so that if you weren't able to make the lecture at the time, you at least can watch the recording thereafter and make sure that you kind of keep up with everyone who was in the class live and who were able to make it that day, because maybe, for instance, that night maybe work went on a bit late, etc., etc. So everything we're doing to build our programs is around creating flexibility in such a way that one can study while working easily and efficiently. Likewise, there's also ways where on these various qualifications where a lot of the programs will run over, let's say, between 9 and 10 weeks, 9 to 11 weeks, let's say, per program. And you're able to then plan your studies around those blocks or cycles as they go along, and you're able to then, if need be, you can then jump off for a block where, for instance, work or end of year financials or whatever is going to be up. You can jump off for 8 weeks, and you can kind of then jump on for the next 10 weeks, however it runs. But we'll go into the specifics of how it runs later. But that kind of flexibility has been built into our programs, and that is another advantage which we have within the school. So those are just two things which I wanted to just touch base on at the beginning before I hand over to Stan and to Jürgen. But with that, let me hand over to Jürgen, and he will basically introduce the PGD in investment management. So over to you, Jürgen.
Thank you, David. So just want to reiterate what David said before I share my slides. I definitely worked and studied for quite a number of years. I did my master's part-time. I studied CFA part-time, so I know the stress and the commitment that it is. And that is something that we do take seriously when we put together our programs, to allow people to have that flexibility to complete their assignments, do the test, and to choose when they want to study. Okay, so I will be covering the postgraduate diploma in investment management. So this is a postgraduate diploma pitched on NQF Level 8. And I think what makes this different, it's a fully online distance learning program, which differs from a traditional university. You don't go into a campus to take class. It's fully online on our learning management system. You can interact with your lecturers asynchronously. So if you study in the evenings, you can type your message or your queries. And then during the day, we would be online again. We would answer you. Also, your test, everything can be done at your pace on your time before the due date. And specifically, this is targeted at individuals who have a very keen interest in financial markets, who are by nature very technical, very curious, and want to broaden their technical skills in financial markets. So our postgraduate diploma is broken down to 4 blocks, and then in each block you can take up to 2 modules. So you can take less and then spread it over more than 1 year, so to allow you the flexibility to work and then study part-time. And I think that what is important to consider here is that we do try and align or consider what the CFA Institute are doing in their curriculum, and we've incorporated some of the learning outcomes in our program. But I do want to reiterate, we are not affiliated with CFA Institute in any way. Okay, so why should you study the postgraduate diploma in investment management? So typically, the students that we've had in the past would be people that are working, that have reached a point where they feel they want to progress their careers. And I've been seeing quite a few more recent graduates that have started to work and then study part-time. So this is definitely targeted to those kind of individuals. People that want to broaden their knowledge and their technical skills in investments and financial services, but don't want to commit to sitting at a university campus full-time. They want the flexibility to continue with other aspects of maybe working, the career, and studying. The program covers a very broad range of outcomes and therefore allows individuals to apply themselves in a diverse set of roles within the financial services industry. So after you've completed this, you can decide to maybe specialize in equities. I think that's the big thing in asset management, is to be an equity analyst. Something that's been growing quite a bit of popularity is fixed income. If you're working in the multi-asset space, that's also very big. If you're in retirement space, it would be multi-asset funds, so we combine equities and fixed income. And then also we do cover derivatives. So we would typically start out, if you want to work in the investment industry, is to start out as an analyst, just as normal investment analyst, covering all the asset classes, or you can specialize into equities. I know some people specialize into specific sectors. And then if you so wish, you can work your way up all the way to portfolio manager. You're also not limited to the traditional asset management industry. It's quite a broad one. So you can go into private equity. That's a growing industry now. So it's unlisted. We've had students from private equity companies on the program. Hedge funds is also something that's also growing in popularity, with especially with becoming more regulated. South Africa, looking at qualified investor hedge funds and also retail investor hedge funds. Those give you access to different investment strategies that you won't get into your normal collective investment schemes. Risk management is something that I have quite a bit of a background in. When you take apart your portfolio, you can look at where risks were taken and whether the returns that you've earned on those were justified. And then also to limit your risk exposure to maybe certain industries or certain asset classes. Stockbroking is also one. Typically, your stockbrokers would be advising clients or writing research reports. And then even wealth management. So a lot of people do financial planning, but then when you get your high net worth individuals, they tend to have more specific requirements with regards to their investments. So you can then advise them at a much higher level, and you can incorporate that with some of your other financial planning advice that you give them. And then investment industry is something that's always evolving. It's changing. We are now also seeing fourth industrial revolution coming in, more use of artificial intelligence and advanced analytical techniques to analyze data. And this is definitely sure to provide ambitious individuals with a very rewarding career. So why should you consider studying the postgraduate diploma in investment management at Milpark? As we've said, the program is fully online and flexible, and this makes it very suitable for individuals who work and want to study part-time. As I've said, we've had people that finished university or finished the undergraduate and they're looking for something to study, or they want to study investments. But they don't want to commit to studying full-time at university, maybe work part-time. And this is a very good option for them. What's also very attractive is that you don't have to explicitly go into a venue to go and write your exams. It's done fully online. As I'm sitting here, you write in front of a camera in the convenience of your own home. What is also good is this provides a very solid foundation of financial markets. We cover all the broad asset classes in here. We touch on portfolio management. And if you do want to take your studies further and go and enroll for the CFA program, this really does give you a very solid foundation, which will help you with your preparations when you start with the CFA exam. Maybe just to reiterate, we are not a CFA prep program. We do cover some of those learning outcomes. We sometimes tend to focus a bit different, but this still does give you a very broad base. So when you're studying for the CFA program, it's not everything's not going to be new for you.
I think, Jürgen, something which I wanted to maybe add to what you were saying earlier was, if about the exams being written online in the comfort of your own home. I think something which is worthwhile just highlighting is, as I mentioned earlier, where I spoke about how our qualifications are flexible, that one can there's asynchronous classes where one can then watch after the fact. If you weren't able to make a class, you can watch a recording after the fact. Those kind of the flexibility created from that is obviously a huge plus. But then on top of that, as Jürgen says, we've now, because of how technology has evolved over the last 5 years, it is great, for instance, that we have been able to include the ability for students to be able to write their exams from home instead of having to, on the day of the exam, ride through to a venue, sit down at the venue and do your exam there. There's no time wasters there, and also because of artificial intelligence and technology growth there, we're able to have proctored exams in your home during the day of the exam. So basically, we have a system where one will write the exam, and while you're writing the exam, you'll be proctored online. We will be recording both you and your screen during the exam, and providing a useful mechanism for proctoring from home itself. So those are just little additions which have been an attractive add-on for our programs, and which then again speak to Milpark Education's aim to be a fully online higher education institution where students can come in from anywhere, and therefore opening access. Sorry, that was just something I wanted to just add as a little add-on there, Jürgen.
Thank you, David. Maybe to add to that, I think where we would also differ from a traditional university, we're not academics by trade. We came into academia after working in industry. I think with traditional universities, you often find that people stay there and become really good at research. We've worked in practice. I myself am a chart holder, CFA chart holder, and Corbin has also made good progress in the program, and also worked in industry. So I think the way in which we teach is more practice related. We try and really make it tangible for you to use this in practice. So it's not a very theoretical course, we try and bridge that gap between pure theory and the application in practice. And also in terms of flexibility, what is also good is you can be anywhere in the country. Because everything is online, you can schedule a consultation in a suitable slot, and we can get together and have a discussion if you need any assistance. It's not like with a traditional university, we have to be on campus to go and visit your lecturer. So in terms of what you will learn in this program, it is a very technical program. So it's typically aimed for people that like doing lots of calculations, solving problems, and you will definitely be refining your calculation skills and problem-solving skills here. We do have a module on report writing or business research, and I think this is important because when you go into a research position, when you analyze equities or anything, you are going to be required to write reports. So we definitely cater for that. And then most of our modules would be analyzing typical investment-related case studies, and doing lots of calculations. Things that we are specifically going to be, or which we cover in this program: equities, which I think is one of the largest asset classes or most important asset classes; fixed income, which is also very big, looking at bonds and its different iterations; alternative investments, so that would be looking at derivative instruments and alternative types of investments like property, small businesses, unlisted equity. We're going to look at economics, corporate finance. So if you're analyzing any form of a company, you would need to understand corporate finance, financial statement analysis. And then we're also going to be touching on portfolio management, which pulls together that when you're putting together an investment solution for a client. And then ethics, there are 2 ethics modules. One is general business ethics, and then we also cover the CFA Institute Code of Ethics and Standards of Professional Conduct. Yes, in terms of the modules that we have, so there's an induction module. This runs a few times a year because we've got 3 intakes. Just correct me if I'm wrong, Amelia. So you can start at different points in the year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We've got 3 intakes here again. So we got the beginning of the year, and then every 3 months we have just no intake the last quarter of the month of the year.
Yes, correct. So the first 3 quarters you can start. So you
maybe it's worth. Sorry, Jürgen. Sorry to interrupt you there, Amelia. Maybe it's worthwhile just highlighting when are those 3 quarters during the year? When are the what months is it that students can look to begin their registration?
Put that in the next slide.
Okay.
Good. Okay, so the typical modules that you have: induction at the start of each of the 3 intakes. And I'll share the blocks that they're running. So there's a business ethics and corporate governance module, which we present in collaboration with the business school. We've got equities and fixed income. That's a module that I've had for quite a few years, and Corbin is taking next year. There's a module finance for non-financial managers, and this is a short course online. It counts no credits, but if you don't have a background in finance, it is required that you do this before you can continue with especially financial reporting and analysis and corporate governance later on. Then we have alternative investments. There is some portfolio management. That is one that I will be taking next year. We have a chartered accountant, Nicolette Brouwer, that I'll also introduce shortly, that has been running with that for quite a few years. For Investment Code of Ethics, that is the CFA Institute Code of Ethics and Standards of Practice. That's one that I have been looking at for quite a few years now. There's research methodology. That's where you're going to do a bit of report writing. We also present that in collaboration with the business school. And then there's an economics and statistics research project where you would need to take a typical company. You need to analyze the macroeconomic environment, do a bit of statistical analysis on it, and then present your findings in a report format. Then in terms of how our blocks work, so as I said, we've got intakes in block 1, 2, and 3. And then in each block, you can run up or take up to 2 modules. So block 1, after you've done induction, would be the equities and fixed income module. And then we also have our business ethics and corporate governance module. That typically runs from February to April. Then after that, we've got alternative investments and portfolio management. That is the only module that's running in block 2. There's no prerequisite, so if you start, you can come in there. Block 3, we've got business research and the economics and statistics research project. Also, the only prerequisite for ECPR at this point is that you've done the equities module. And then in block 4, we've got financial reporting, analysis, and corporate governance, and then investment code of ethics. So block 1, as I've said, runs from February to April. Block 2 runs from April to July. And then block 3 runs from July to September. And our last block is from September to December. So during the course, it's usually 12 weeks per block. During that, you will have assignments due. There are a few online tests. You've got your live lectures. And then at the end of that, there's usually 2 weeks off that you need to prepare for your exams, and then you will write exam before continuing with the next block.
Jürgen, just to interrupt you. Sometimes there is an overlap, especially with the last block. So financial reporting starts before you maybe submit your research. So it doesn't necessarily just stop with a break and start.
Okay, good. Yeah, it does have, I think there would be a short one. That's because that runs with business school.
Jürgen, it might be worthwhile. I'm not sure if you're going to do it later, but just highlighting the specific modules which are overlap with business school modules and how that can be used potentially if students go onto an MBA with Milpark.
I can do it now. So everything on here is NQF 8, but I think what's the business research and that business ethics and corporate governance, we do present in collaboration with business school. So this is 125 credit PGDIP. Once you're done with it, you will already have the credits for business ethics and business research. So if you want to continue, not only the one.
Just the one module, but business research it helps to do the research on MBA. So it's just the one exemption across.
Okay, so you get exemption for business ethics and corporate governance. So if you continue with the MBA, then you already have the credits for that one module. And business research would in any case be important because a part of the MBA would be a research thesis. Okay, so in terms of the staff that would be helping you on your learning journey, so the program oversight manager is myself as head of department. Then our program manager is Amelia Johnson. So any support that you need that is not academic related, you can ask her, or if you feel that we are not living up to your absolute highest standards, you can also contact Amelia and she will keep us on our toes. In terms of your lecturers, I'm lecturing on the program. Corbin, who's joined us recently, will also be working on the program. We've got Shameen Nkuna from business school. She does the business research module. Nicolette Brower has been on contract with Milpark for quite a few years. She's now with the business school in a part-time capacity. She's a chartered accountant. She's run he has the financial reporting and analysis module. And then Stanton is also one of our lecturers on the program. In terms of the structure of the program, it's fully online and therefore flexible. And as we've said, we want to reiterate this. It's flexible, and then this gives you the opportunity to choose when you have time to study. It makes it really suitable for people that are working and therefore can only study part-time. It is a postgraduate qualification pitched at NQF Level 8, and therefore it is comparable in difficulty level to an honours degree. The big difference between doing a diploma, a postgraduate diploma, and honours degree is with an honours degree, there is a dedicated research project. Now, from what I've done in the past with supervision, usually you get your research project early on in the year, and that is something that you need to work through continuously and then submit by the end of the year. That is not a requirement for PGDIP. We can do it mostly structured, only with module work. I think this makes it a bit more suitable if you want to focus on selected modules or one module at a time in a block and don't want to commit to doing a long research project that runs at least a year. And then also makes it much easier for having more than one intake during the course of the year. Thank you. That's it from my side. From the panel, any questions or inputs?
I see that no questions came in, no new questions came in while you were going there. So thanks, Jürgen. I'm trying to think any other input. Amelia?
Maybe I can just speak about the support that we have. So we try to minimize the different avenues that the student need to get support. So the main email address that we use is support@molpoc. It will be allocated to its person to assist, and they will direct it to the correct department. So if you're not sure if you need accounts or you have problem with your exam or anything, main email is support@molpoc.ac.za. The nature of your problem or query, so we can clearly direct you in the right way. Anything academic will be on your learning platform. So this is for any other query that you're not sure of. There's only one email to use, and we'll direct it to the right person. Probably me that you'll deal with, but if it's not something I can help with, I will then pass it on to the relevant department. So you don't need to remember 5 email addresses and wait for a response. That's all from my side. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, Amelia. Maybe, Jürgen, maybe something else you can just chat through briefly is you should talk about the availability of tutors, availability of the online lecturer, how available they are, that kind of angle, please.
Okay, so usually the lecturer is the tutor, except for when we have an outside person, then we've got 2 people. You've got the online lecturer and your academic supporting them. So you can contact them. There's a dedicated discussion forum or tutor forum where you can get in touch with them if you post. We aim to answer within 24 hours there. There's also direct messaging. Again, we try and answer within 24 hours. In terms of availability to consult with your lecturer, we do have dedicated consulting slots, so you can book that up front with the topic that you want to discuss. And then, as I've said, it doesn't matter where you're in the country, we're fully online. So then we can consult with you and work through your questions with you, be it that you need help with your assignment or not understanding something that you're busy studying with and you need additional support. Then also we do have the live sessions where we do a lecture, but then also there's always time for Q&A afterwards, and those sessions are all recorded and made available for those of you that can't attend them.
Yes, and I think the main thing which is always awesome is I remember when I was studying, it was always impossible to get a hold of the lecturer or organize a consultation with them, and just the availability of the tutor forums, sometimes called tutor forums, sometimes called discussion forum, where one is able to get hold of the lecturer and ask your academic specific related query, where there's something you're really struggling to understand, and the ability to be able to get a response within 24 hours is a huge advantage, where one can get a quick response time and makes things a lot easier. But thanks so much, Jürgen, for sharing that with us. I know that Stan's going to want to now try and get his slides up there quick. So next, I'm going to hand over to Stanton Lesh. He's introduced himself earlier, and he is our oversight owner for the PGD in banking. So Stan, I think I'll let you take it away. Maybe let you, Sham, I'll let you get your slides up there, and then you can get going. Stan has also been with Molpok for a number of years, and he's a great person for. I know, for instance, he's always a favorite with students. He's always so helpful and always available. But Stan, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Jürgen, for that good, insightful presentation. And once again, good afternoon to everybody that's in attendance. I introduced myself earlier. I will introduce myself a little bit later as well. Can I just check, is the sound clear?
Yeah, it's winning. Perfect.
Perfect. Okay. So my presentation is obviously for the qualification for which I am responsible, which is the postgraduate diploma in banking. It's also at an NQF 8 level, which, as Jürgen has mentioned before, is at the same level as an honors degree. But the one thing obviously that's different is that there's no dedicated, detailed and large research report that's needed, although we do have a lot of research that is done linked to the modules that's associated with this program. Let me just get through to my slides quickly. Okay, so why do you would you study the postgraduate diploma in banking? So most often it is suitable for students that have a commerce-related degree and who are employed in the financial services industry, but they now, at whichever stage of the career they are, they want to deepen and broaden their knowledge of banking, obviously with a view for career prospects either at a head office level or at a regional level. And the other thing that highlighted the importance of banking is when we saw during COVID, banking was once again, the importance was confirmed when it was declared an essential service. And there's a number of reasons why it's an essential service. One of the things is it's obviously for payments. Obviously, banking is not the only payment platform, but it's the most important one and the most widely used one. And then secondly, for the intermediation function between the savers and obviously the people that are borrowing money. So that's one of the key functions of banks. And that function you can only have in terms of deposit taking if you've got a banking license. There are other people that can help you with payments, but in terms of the banking license, it's only banks that can accept deposits and then obviously use their deposits and lend it out to people to obviously invest in the economy, grow the economy, and grow their businesses. So in an increasingly VUCA world, and those of you that don't know what VUCA stands for, it is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And that's basically the world that we live in. In an increasingly world like that, bankers need to be more skilled and they need to be more knowledgeable. One of the big events that I would consider a VUCA event, and which we're all familiar with, is the global pandemic COVID-19, which nobody could have predicted, but it was definitely volatile. It led to a lot of uncertainty. It led to a lot of complexity, especially in banking and even in other industries. And obviously, it was also led to some ambiguity as well. So in that type of world, like I said, you need bankers that are knowledgeable and skilled. It's also not a bad thing to be in banking. If you look at some of the salaries of the CEOs of our major banking institutions, at Investec, you've got Fani Titi, At Capitec, you got Gerrie Fourie. At Standard Bank, Simpiwe Chabalala. At ABSA, you got Ari Rautenbach. And at Nedbank, you got Mike Brown. So if you look both at the annual and at the daily salary, you can see that it's quite a lucrative industry. And if you look at the daily as well, there's a large percentage of a population that don't even earn that kind of money in a year, and that's what qualified, skilled, knowledgeable bankers, that's what they can earn. So never get into banking for the money, but there is a carrot, definitely. So on this course, the program oversight manager is me, and then obviously you've seen Amelia, but she can just wave to you again. Amelia Johnson, she's the one that will whoop us if we don't give excellent service, and she's always available and you can always get hold of her. Some of the lecturers on the program is obviously myself, Stanton Lesh, then it's Nasmira Said of the business school, and Nicolette Brouwer, who Jorgen mentioned before. She's a chartered accountant and she's also employed by the business school. And then Dr. Shameen Nakuna, she's the one that will give you the business research methods course. That's also part of the program. So let's talk a little bit about me. I don't like to talk about me too much, but it's just a few short tidbits. I've been employed with Milpark for 9 years, 4 years on a part-time basis as a contractor, where I started as an external moderator, and then 5 years full-time to the point that I'm now a senior lecturer on the qualification, and I also teach at the business school. I'm passionate about teaching and about learning, and especially to ensure that you as students can think independently. The most beautiful thing for me is when people can think for themselves and don't just, when they read something, accept it as a fact, that they interrogate whatever is told to them and that they are looking for some substantiation for whatever somebody is saying. What do I like about in terms of the postgraduate diploma in banking on this specific course? We've got both the academics, which have a theoretical knowledge of the qualification, which most public universities have. But what they don't have is what we have in terms of our online lecturers, which have industry experience, that have actually been in banking, that have been in financial services, and that obviously can then, what I call the best of both worlds, can provide you with the best support and can ensure that you are adequately capable and equipped to perform in your job. Then there's obviously other stakeholders where the program managers come in and other internal departments in Milpark. They are dedicated and they are determined to ensure that you enjoy this program and that you not only start with it, but actually complete it at the end. And the most satisfying moment for me is obviously once you graduate, which is the piece of paper that you'll get at the end, which is important. Nobody can take that away from you. But more important for us is to actually to see you excel in the workplace. We like following the newspaper and we see, oh, here is one of my former students and they are doing quite well. Maybe I made a difference in their life. So that's what we live for. Not just to see you graduate, but also to see you excel in the workplace. So when we look at the program structure, we have 7 compulsory modules, and we've got 2 electives, and you only need to select one of the 2. As with the postgraduate diploma in investment management, we've got the induction, which is available to all. As you can see, there's no credits because it's basically just setting you up for the other modules. We've got the bank risk management module, all of them at NQF 8. It's a 20 credit module, 12-week module is compulsory. We've got 3 business school modules, 2 are compulsory and 1 is an elective. So business ethics and corporate governance is a business school module, 15 credits, 10 weeks. Social responsibility and environmental management, also a 15 credit module, 10 weeks. And then we've got research methodology, which is a 20 credit module, also a business school module, and that is also 10 to 12 weeks. I think it's 12 weeks actually. And then we've got International Bank Management and Strategy, 20 credit module, 12-week. We've got Banking Project, which is like almost what I typically call action learning, where you will deal with a real world problem at your banking institution, and we're going to see how we can hopefully solve some of those problems. Then we've got a shorter module, which is only 3 weeks, and that is the bank regulation module. The banking project module is also a short module, but it is 6 weeks. And then the last 2 modules, as I mentioned, the 2 electives, of which you can choose any one, is strategic management or financial reporting and analysis and corporate finance. And you can see that module is 25 credits.
And Stan, just to maybe reiterate again, if I'm correct, the PGD in banking also has overlap with the MBA. So which of those, or any of those modules, ones where the credits can pull over to the MBA?
You can get, just correct me if I'm wrong, you can get for the BCG and for SREM.
Correct.
The STRM is only on the postgraduate diploma in business management, as well as BRES. Those are not on the MBA, but for BCG and for SREM, you can get those credits. So when we look at the slide, it's similar to the previous one. What is outlined here is just once again the module name, and obviously the subject code, the credits, what is compulsory and not, and more importantly, also who are the lecturers. So you will see for banking project, bank regulation, bank risk management, business ethics and corporate governance, and the international bank management and strategy module, you will have me as your lecturer, and I'm the module owner, obviously. And then for your social responsibility and environmental management, you will have Nazmira Said of the business school. And for the research methodology module, you will have Dr. Shameen Nakuna, also of the business school. And for financial reporting and analysis and corporate finance, you will have Nicolette Brouwer, also of the business school. And last but not least, you will have Dr. Marlon Hoffman for strategic management, or STRM. So this is just a slide that gives you a little bit more detail into who's responsible for the modules. And then my apologies that my borders are not so good. As you can see, I'm not so techno savvy, but the point will be made here in terms of how our modules are structured. We have 4 blocks similar to the postgraduate diploma in investment management. In block 1, which is February until April, you will have business ethics and corporate governance and social responsibility and environmental management. Students can complete this qualification in a year, which will mean that they will have to do 2 modules at a time. But most students, because of the nature of their jobs, our students typically middle management in banks and other financial institutions, typically 35 to 45 years old. So they've got demanding jobs. So most of them will complete this qualification over 2 years. And by doing it over 2 years, they typically take 1 module at a time. So block 2, you will have your bank regulation and your bank risk management, which is April to July. Block 3, which is July to September, you will have your banking project and your business research module. And then in your last block, you will have your international bank management and strategy, and one of STRM, which is strategic management, or the financial reporting analysis and corporate finance. And that's basically your 4 blocks. And obviously, depending on the nature of your job, you can decide over which period you do it. My advice, and I think the advice from Amelia as well, would be that you do it over 2 years. Let's get to the next slide. So what are the admission requirements to do the postgraduate diploma in banking, which, as I mentioned, is at NQF 8 level? You will need a commerce-related degree at NQF 7. Or we've got a small percentage, about 10% of our total student population for this qualification, that we do on recognition of prior learning. So it's people that might not have the academic qualifications, but that they've worked themselves up into the bank. They are in senior management, they are in executive management, And given the nature of their job, we can see that they can cope with the type of content that we are going to cover. And we allow them onto this program as well. An interesting thing that I'd like to mention is that our top 2 students of all time on this qualification, and I think it's about 10 years we're talking about, are actually students that have been onboarded and linked to recognition of prior learning. One is an executive of one of the top banks and is actually working overseas as a CEO. The other one is also a senior executive at one of the more dynamic banks. I'm not going to mention who the bank is, but yeah, one of the more dynamic banks. So that just shows that it can be done if you are dedicated and you are focused. One of my alumni, I spoke to him about 2 days ago, and I asked him, what can I tell students that attend today? What do they need to do? So he told me, Stanton, it's all about contracting. And I asked him, what do you mean by contracting? He says, at work, you contract your staff. When you are a part-time student and you want to be successful, you have to contract your family. So you have to have a contract with your wife, with your kids, so that they give you that scope and that leeway to dedicate yourself to this endeavor and to ensure that sufficient time is allocated. Because if you're not going to contract them, you're going to struggle. You need the support of your family to do well on a part-time qualification, and this qualification is no different. Okay, let me just win a bit. So how do you qualify for this module, for this course, and become a postgraduate, get the qualification of postgraduate diploma in banking? You obviously need to complete all 7 your compulsory modules and one of your elective modules, which means you've got a total of 8 modules, and that will have to amount to a minimum of 125 credits. And if you look at those slides, you will see if you do those 7 compulsory and one of the 2 electives, you will obviously get to that number. And the last thing is just we do not suggest or recommend that students register for an elective in their first module. So we do not recommend people starting, for example, in the last block. From my side, that is it. I'm sure there might be 1 or 2 questions.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you so much, Dan. So please feel free to type if you have any questions on the side there. There was no additional questions that have come through, but thank you so much, Stan and Jürgen. I'll give it another minute or so for it to come through. But in case it looks like there are no questions coming through, but that is A-okay. So I think to begin with, I just wanted to say, just to end off with, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who decided to join us today. I see there aren't any more additional questions, but so hopefully Jürgen and Stan covered everything that needed to be covered. So I want to firstly say thank you to everyone who did join today. Thank you for your interest in Moltbach education. Please feel free to go through our website to get more information, which you can get at moltbach.ac.za. And feel free to reach out to Amelia if you have any queries, or to that email address attached. If you have any additional queries about this qualification, and we'd love to, and we look forward to potentially seeing you again in seeing you in 2024 as one of our new students on the PGD in banking or the PGD in investment management. But with that, I say goodbye for the evening. I hope you all have a good evening ahead, and we'll hopefully see you soon. Cheers all.